Hi, I'm Sophie. I am part of the recruitment team here at Teach First. Today, we're going to talk through transferable skills, particularly in the public sector and the non-profit sector. At Teach First, we recruit teachers, so this is something that we look at daily over our assessment process. So hopefully, whether you're looking into teaching or something like social work, nursing, or other charity jobs, this will really help you with that application. So what we're going to run through today then is we're hoping to understand what transferable skills and competencies are, identify in your experiences and opportunities where you may have used these, and to be able to answer written competency questions and hopefully answer verbal ones too in that interview. So what are transferable skills? So transferable skills are a core set of skills and abilities that can be applied to a wide range of different jobs and industries. They're normally picked up over time. They can be from part-time work, they can be from charity or voluntary work, they can even come from hobbies or that project that you did at university too. So competencies, all kind of recruiters tend to ask for competencies. I know when I was at university, I used to find competency questions and interviews quite intimidating, didn't really get what they were asking. So hopefully we can break this down for you today. So a competency is just the ability to do something successfully or efficiently. So these are particular qualities that the company's recruiters or hiring managers have decided are desirable for their employees to possess. So they're not just skills, they're more a part of us, and they actually combine our skills, our knowledge and abilities that we have picked up over time. So competencies are actually really, really good. This means that the recruiter and the graduate recruiter has thought, you've been a student for many years, you've likely not got a load of experience in the sector that you're looking for, so they don't need you to have that skill and that experience. What they're looking for is you to have those competencies, those soft skills. That means that they can really train you up to the person that they need you to be, and to, be successful in that job role. So competency questions are those interview questions that require you to provide real life examples. So normally we are looking for you to draw on one specific example, unless the question specifies otherwise. So often we get these two competencies and skills quite mixed up. And just to really clarify the difference between the two, a skill is more the ability to do something, while competencies are more your behaviours and again, those soft skills. So we've got a really lovely example here of 10 people may be really skilled at computer programming, but maybe only 5 actually work in a way which is in line with company culture and competencies. So an example of this would be being respectful of management, working efficiently, having good time management, being a really good team player. All of those would be more on that competency side of things. Whereas skills are more specific, competencies are much more broad. So an example of skill is we've got a surgeon, he's really talented, he's great at his job, but he's rude to the team, he gives family members bad news in a not particularly sensitive way, and he hasn't kept up studying with the latest developments. So he wouldn't actually be considered as succeeding in his role. He's got the skill, he can practice and do operations, but if his manager's getting a load of complaints about the way he's speaking with relatives, that's not going to go down particularly well. And if he's not on board with getting up to speed with the latest technology, again, that's going to really impact him in his role. So although skills are important, competencies are so important too. And having the mix of the two is what employers really want you to have. So what do you think employers are looking for? Just to talk you through our competencies and what we like you to have. Again, these really reflect other public sector jobs and non-profit jobs too, as it's likely that you're going to be working with a number of different people. Often, there's sometimes some care and responsibilities in there, such as the teaching, having that relationship with your pupils. So some of the key skills we look for are empathy, respect, humility. Again, you're going to be working with a broad range of people, from pupils to parents to teachers. So being able to really build those relationships with different people quite quickly is super important for the success and role. We also have leadership here, which is a super key one. You need to be able to be proactive, making decisions that may put you on the spot and you may not have done before. Leadership, I think, can sometimes get mixed up with management. You don't need to be a manager to be a good leader. You can really show leadership daily in different decisions you make and taking the lead. In teaching, you're going to be leading classes every day. You're going to be leading a class of 30 pupils. So it's a super important skill to have. Another key one is resilience. So many companies are looking for resilience. Our training program isn't easy. It is going to challenge you. So you do need to be patient. You need to have that positive mindset to persevere through those more difficult times. You may deliver a lesson that goes down not so well, but you've spent so much time practicing it that you do feel, oh, really? Why is that not going to plan? You might try that lesson with another class and they may love it. It's all about really being able to self-evaluate, and that's actually another competency we've got there, and seeing what works well for different pupils and in different areas of your work. We also have planning and organising, problem solving, interaction, and understanding and motivation. All companies want you to know what their company does, why they're about, and they want you to be passionate, particularly in charity sector, about their mission. Our mission is to build a fair education for all. Do your research, show the company you know what you're talking about and that you've had a look into that. That is super important for whatever company you do apply to as well. So what experience do you have so far? I often found as a student, I always overlooked my experience so much, and didn't really realize that I could use that experience for these questions and that I was showing things like leadership and effective interaction. So we're going to break this down a little bit for you to really help you with those questions. So examples you can use can really vary and range. So you can use examples of tutoring, volunteering, sport societies, any work experience you've had previously. You can even use examples from your personal life, any roles of responsibility that you've had, things like Duke of Edinburgh, guides, scouts, sport that you've been involved with, all really show you've taken the initiative to get out your comfort zone, try something new, and they can really show that company that you're ready to take on the new challenge of the working world as well. So just to break down experiences a little bit more to really help you with those competency style questions and give you an idea of what the different companies are actually looking for. So part-time job, and you asked a question on how to, or when's there been a time where you've demonstrated leadership. So in your part-time job, this could be setting up a new way of working, leading on a customer complaint. Any of you doing bar work, you may have had quite a few difficult customers now that we're opening back up again. So really drawing on that experience and how you handled it is great. That's what we want to see and want to know. Supporting a new starter if you're more experienced in role, again, that really shows leadership. Seeking training for something new, again, shows you're putting yourself out there, you're willing to learn new things, which when you start in a new industry and career, that is what we really want to see. Including colleagues, whether that's into the conversation, into the group. Again, there's definitely examples you can draw on then, which does show leadership. And again, none of them involve being a manager. So there's definitely ways you can demonstrate that skill without being in a hired role. Effective interaction. So we have here communicating with customers, again, dealing with more difficult customers, liaising with other employees, getting involved in meetings, getting managers involved, and actually looking at ways you can improve ways of working, and actually giving feedback to other employees, newer members of the team if you have been supporting those. So again, quite a lot of different examples there. You don't need to have done a job with customers either. As you can see, it can be looking at ways of working with employees and improving ways of working as well. So there's a number of different ways that you can show these competencies. I think sometimes, I know I did anyway at uni, got stuck thinking that, leadership, you've got to be a manager, effective interaction, that's got to relate to a customer, whereas actually there's so many other examples that you can draw on to really show these skills and competencies to the employer. So if you've been part of a university society, there's some great skills you've likely picked up. This is a great one you can use for problem solving. If you've done fundraising, organised an event, I know I've worked with societies over the past year setting up workshops like this. That'll be a great example you can use. Boosting membership, again, that really shows that you've thought outside the box to get that membership up. Resolving disagreements between members as well. Hopefully you won't have had too many of those, but it is certainly an example you can use if you have. We then have planning and organising. So, things like fundraising, again, very much you've likely had to plan and put a bit of a plan of action in place to get yourself where you needed to be. Organising an event, again, that really shows planning and organising skills. Managing bookings and memberships and setting up a new society from scratch obviously involves a lot of planning and organisation. I'd say as well, as you can see, there's fundraising and organising an event in both problem solving and planning and organising. So it's always worth, I would say, creating a bit of a bank of answers and actually saying what competencies these show, because often it can be more than one and often they can overlink. So it's really good to have a few in mind. And then, obviously you'll likely only be asked a few competency questions. It won't be every single competency that the company covers. So to have a couple that you can use for not one, but two, or maybe even three, would be really beneficial and helps you remember them, especially if you've got exams and deadlines and things like that to actually pull upon. It's really good to analyse your experience and have a look at those key competencies. We've got our competencies on our website. I imagine other companies do as well. So it's really nice to have a look, write them all down, give yourself a rating and evidence it and say, okay, this person's gave themselves, 8 for humility, respect, and empathy because they do a lot of volunteering, they work with a lot of different people. Well, I've only got a 4 for problem solving. So maybe we're thinking, okay, how do I actually get this extra experience? Am I maybe just not digging deep enough? Do I need to think back a little bit further to other things that I've done? They've got really high scores on the others, which makes me think that, again, often these interlink, so they probably have done more problem solving than they think. They're just overlooking their experience, which is something it's really important not to do. It doesn't, again, need to be this really kind of out there example. We just need to see that you can problem solve, and that could be with a group at university, when maybe someone or the project hasn't gone as well as you'd hoped. That's a great example of problem solving. Obviously, we need a bit more depth than that, but there's so many different things that you can use for that. So how to gain more experience? Now you've analysed that experience, how do you fill in those gaps? So I guess it's bearing them in mind. If you have got a part-time job, what can I get involved with to cover those gaps? Taking part in any societies. I appreciate if your final year, that may not be what you're looking to do now. It may be more a case of, getting involved in skill sessions, which, kind of this one today, listening to things like this to really up your knowledge and up your skills. Speaking to your career service, who are fantastic and, very much there to support you as well. Getting involved in internships over summer, where you'll likely pick up a few different competencies. Volunteering work, and LinkedIn. If you don't have a LinkedIn, I would strongly advise you set yourself up. So many recruiters, especially in this virtual world, have gone straight to LinkedIn. It's social media in the working world and for networking. And we often send emails and in-mails to those who we feel will be a good fit for our training program. So there's other employers who'll be doing the same. So it's a fantastic way of getting your name out there and getting opportunities that you may not have otherwise seen or even thought of. So LinkedIn, I would strongly advise. So how to actually frame your answers. Now you know the kind of experience that we're looking for. How do you actually structure it and how do you frame it? This is another thing I really struggled with upon graduating myself. So it's really good to use your best examples. Again, make a bank of those examples. When I was looking for work, what I would do is just in the notes section of my phone, even, so not even anything overly formal. And I would just, if I had a more difficult stakeholder or customer, make a note of it, make a note of the situation, break it down so that when you do come to the point that you are looking, to interview or fill out an application, you don't need to spend so much time thinking back and trying to recall what happened a year or a year and a half ago. And you've actually got that information there in front of you. That's something I'd hugely recommend. Use a specific situation. Again, we're often looking for one situation unless it's stated otherwise. So really stick to that one situation and give us some good depth. Use the CAR method to help you cover all the necessary details. So CAR stands for context, and that is what was the situation. Just a couple of lines is absolutely fine. The rest of your answer, kind of 70%, so a good amount of it anyway, should focus on what actions you actually took. And we want to hear what you did. We need it to be in good depth. We often find people fall down, not giving us enough detail. I imagine, you need to obviously think, we weren't there. Sometimes you can fall into the trap. I know I have, of just kind of assuming that the person who's marking this will know, whereas we can't assume anything. We've got to just kind of review it as it is. So put enough detail in there. If you don't know if it is enough detail, get your friends, get your family to have a read over. Does it make sense to them if they weren't there? That's a really nice way of just double checking it, I would say. And then results. What was the result and why was it down to you? We want to hear your contribution and how you took the group or how you took the situation to that result and how that went, and again, what you did too. Check your spelling and grammar. I know it sounds quite a simple one, but I appreciate it's likely the first thing to go when you have spent a full day doing assignments or online. If you need to log off and look at it the next day, do that. Take your time away from the screen, come back with fresh eyes. Again, get family and friends to have a read over if you do feel comfortable to do that, just to give that double check. With our application form, you get an automatic rejection if you make over 5 spelling and grammar errors. And again, this can often just be things like this where maybe you have done it when you're a bit tired or after you've had quite a lot of assignments on. So please don't fall into this trap. We want you to do well. Take your time away from the screen and come back to it would be my advice. So again, our competencies we have here, humility, respect and empathy, leadership, resilience, effective interaction, planning and organising, self-evaluation, understanding and motivation, and problem solving. Always look at the company's competencies and really prepare those answers ahead so that you feel confident in what you're going to say in interview, and you're confident with your written answers as well. So I would always advise doing practice, as we have here, to choose a competency, especially one that you don't feel overly confident with, and spend time actually coming up with examples when you've demonstrated that competency, and always stick to that CAR structure to really keep, again, that structure intact and really show the employee what they do want to see from you. So we've got an answer here that someone has completed. It's certainly not perfect. They have, again, they've spent some time at uni working on the dissertation, and it has been, I imagine, a bit of a problem-solving question that they've been asked. So as you can see, there is some grammatical errors there, which we don't want to see. There's not a lot of depth in the answer either. So we would want to know a little bit more, why was that person hard to work with? They have said they sat down and talked to them. Okay, what did you need to speak with them about? What was it that was more difficult to work with them? Why was that? So we need a little bit more depth there, really. And we used skills like problem solving. What did you do to problem solve? We would, again, need a little bit more depth there as well. And, they said, we decided to have a team meeting. Again, it's very much we, and we want to see I and what you did, and they've completely missed the results out there. Did it mean that you got a first overall, or that 2-1 you were wanting? What were the results? So just a few things missing there, and just, I think, a good example to see where people can fall down. And that could be an amazing example, and they could have really shown problem solving skills in that situation, but we can't really see clearly what it was that they did. So just to make sure you are being super clear and concise and giving us that detail that we do need. So make the most of the application process would be another tip. Make sure you read all guidance you've been given. Again, use your best examples, and speak to your recruitment officer. So when you do apply through us, we actually have a dedicated team who do talk through those who are applying. They'll give you top hints and tips. I know when I was at university, if I applied for a job and someone called me, I wouldn't be answering. I'd be thinking they're going to telephone interview me. That is not the case at all. It's purely to give you some support. Our application process is an application form followed by a development centre. So that telephone interview isn't something that we do. So please don't worry and please take the call. It's purely to support you. And we do actually see a bit of a correlation between those who take the call and who are successful. So you're much more likely to be successful if you have a chat with my colleague through the application process to get that guidance. Ask for feedback and act on it. Feedback is so important and it can be quite scary, I think, to get feedback and hear maybe what you're not doing so well. But, applying to graduate jobs is new. You can't be perfect at it straight away, and that's okay. But just owning that and getting some feedback to really act on it and really strengthen your applications is key, I would say. So again, some more top tips. Don't underestimate your experiences. Again, things you're doing day out, day in, and what these companies are looking for. They don't expect you to have loads of industry experience. They're looking for those soft skills again, which means that they can really develop you and see those transferable skills and where you've done something similar, but in a different industry. We can develop you and we can train you. That's fine. Again, keep a record of all your experiences, whether you've got a notebook or you're just like me and use the notes on your iPhone. Either's fine as long as you keep those in mind. So it will make the process so much easier when you do go to apply. Look at those gaps and have a look and see how you can fill those so that you do feel really confident when you get to that interview side of things. Make use of all those resources available to you. Ask for help if you need it. If we give you a ring and maybe you want to chat through something a bit more, give us a call back, give us an email. That's absolutely fine. We do want you to do well. We want to support you. Always use that really clear method and structure, such as the CAR method, and analyze your examples. Look for the strongest one. Fully prepare for interviews. Again, have a bank of those questions in mind. A good tip that I heard is often the scariest part of the interview is the unknown. So get whoever you live with, whether it's your flatmate, your family, your partner, and get them to just ask you questions out of the blue. So, for example, if you're just getting for a jog, and then they come up to you and ask you, tell me a time you've shown leadership, or you just come down for breakfast and they say, show me a time where you've shown really good problem solving skills. That puts you completely on the spot, which is often the most difficult part of the interview. I would definitely recommend that alongside all of the other tips. Appreciate it can be a bit daunting, a bit stressful, but hopefully really worthwhile. Again, you'll always be able to find those competencies on the employer website. Have a look at them, make examples for each one, and get yourself ready to go. We just had time for some questions there. My email address should be on the next slide. If you do have any questions about the application process or Teach First, please feel free to drop me an email. I support students from Newcastle University who are applying to our training programme, so always more than happy to answer emails or arrange a call. We're currently recruiting for our 2022 intake. We're recruiting up until the 6th of June, and then we'll be closing for applications while we assess those applications that we've had in over this month. Our training program is 2 years. We place in schools where you can really make a difference. You have 5 weeks training in June, which is tends to be quite social, and also it is quite intense, but we do learn you so much that you need to know. You then start in your school in September. We place you in your school and we will be supporting you throughout those 2 years. So you'll have a point of contact through Teach First, you'll have a mentor in your school too. You'll be earning a salary from your first day in school as well, and we'll also put you through your qualified teacher status, which you get after your first year. This comes with a lovely pay rise going into your second, and in your second year, you'll then gain your postgraduate diploma in education and become one of our fantastic ambassadors. We often find our trainees progress in schools, or they go on to different careers as well. We work with a number of partner companies, and we do offer summer projects which are available to you throughout your career as well. Some of these are abroad, some are with our more corporate partners such as PwC and Accenture. But we are open for applications now. It's a fantastic time to apply, as we do tend to find particularly some subjects and regions do fill up. So get your applications in. They're on our website, and my colleague will give you a call to talk you through. Again, any questions, please feel free to drop me an email, and thank you so much for listening.